For weeks, I had been watching my neighbor, Mr. Jack, the mysterious gardener. Every Saturday morning, he would show up in his big straw hat, pulled low over his eyes. He always had that same smile, a smile that sent a strange shiver down my spine. Jack carried his favorite tool, a shiny hedge trimmer, everywhere he went. It was always sharp and ready. One morning, as I was watering my plants, he walked up to the fence and caught me daydreaming. "Your garden needs a little love, don't you think?" he said, winking at me. I raised an eyebrow, half amused, half curious. "Oh, really? And you think your tool can fix it?" Jack grinned. "I know it can. Let me show you." Blushing but curious, I let him into my small garden. Jack set his tools down by the flower beds and inspected his hedge trimmer like it was a treasure. Then, he got to work. Each movement of his hands was slow and careful. He reshaped the bushes and trimmed the hedges with an artist's precision. As the garden transformed, Jack occasionally threw playful glances my way. By the time the sun set, my garden looked completely new. "Ready for another gardening date next week?" he asked with a cheeky smile. I nodded, my cheeks warm. Every Saturday, Jack came over with his tools. Week by week, the gardening sessions became less about the plants and more about the connection we shared. It was thrilling and exciting, even though neither of us said much. One Saturday, as he was leaving, Jack slipped his hand into mine. "Next week, let's spend more time together," he said. "I know a place even nicer than this garden." Without hesitation, I agreed. The next Saturday, the garden felt different. I had made lemonade and wore my favorite summer dress. When Jack arrived, his smile seemed brighter, his gaze softer. This time, we sat and talked before he got to work. Jack shared stories about his life and the gardens he had transformed. He told me that sometimes, a garden needed more than trimming, it needed a fresh start. "It's the same with life," he said. "Sometimes, you need the courage to start over." I looked around my garden and nodded. It wasn't perfect, just like my life. "Show me how you transform a garden," I challenged him. Jack's eyes lit up as he picked up his trimmer. This time, he worked even slower, his movements deliberate. The way he worked was mesmerizing. When he finished, he stood in front of me. "This garden, you, me, it's special, isn't it?" he said softly. My heart raced. He stepped closer, his eyes meeting mine. Then, gently, he kissed me. The garden seemed to glow around us as if it knew this was our moment. One Saturday, Jack said, "Come to my garden next time." When I arrived, I found a wild, overgrown yard. It was untamed but beautiful, full of tall trees and colorful flowers. "It's a bit messy, like me," Jack said, scratching the back of his head. I smiled. "It's perfect," I replied. We spent the day working on his garden together. We laughed, shared secrets, and learned more about each other. As the sun set, the yard looked like a magical place. Under the pink sky, Jack turned to me. "You've changed my life," he said. "You've changed mine too," I whispered. From then on, our Saturdays were no longer about fixing gardens, they were about building a life together, one beautiful moment at a time. See you on our next video.